you know, that it's a path which will bring them, you know, to genuine enlightenment. So it gives rise that that there is someone and something else, right? Which is enlightenment, or, you know, freedom, which one can attain by doing certain practices, right?
That's a consequence of the language. Now, when I say them or you or me, um, in my mind, I do not conceptualize it as a separate, autonomous, independent individual.
Okay, well, that's clear then, because I just want to make this clear. You know, of course, language is always dualistic. You know, it talks about the you and something else, which already is not two. Of course, it's already not separate. It's just what is. So
Mhm.
I just want to get this clear, that there is no such thing or no thing like a you and something else
Mhm.
which is attainable or not by doing certain practices. At the same time,
Absolutely. Yeah.
of course, the belief that there is something which is attainable is itself already not attainable, or not. The idea that there's something to reach, or the lack of that idea or belief, is already not reachable. Please show me where someone can reach the idea that there's something to reach, or the lack thereof. So there's just what is, right? There is nothing apart from what is able to get it or to not get it, or to hold it, to let it go.
This
Mhm.
is a beautiful point, Advait, because we hello, Advait and
Yes.
SaderLinchen, because we were actually sharing stories, and I was curious about Advait. You are your origin is from Great Britain, England?
No, no,
No, no, no,
I was
wrong.
US,
born in
right?
America.
US, America.
US. Yeah.
But you are
US. Yeah.
living now for how many years in India?
I've been living 16 years here at Amma's ashram, pretty much full time. About once every 4 or 5 years, I'll go back to America for maybe 2 or 3 months, get my new
Oh,
visa, and come back.
okay.
Otherwise, I live full time here in India during the 16 years.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Amazing, Advait. Do you want to share how the life is there and also a little bit about the Indian culture, how the people in a nutshell, how they grow up and how they see like guru and for them it's simply a different way of seeing it. It's like brushing the teeth, maybe doing the morning yoga and whatsoever this is. I guess it's quite normal there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, the whole concept of gurus and enlightened masters and avatars, as you said, is pretty well integrated into the Indian culture. So for them, when an avatar appears, like in the modern world, uh, people who would be considered avatars would maybe be like Sai Baba, Sachi Sai Baba, if you've heard of him, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, Sundar, you've heard of Sachi Sai Baba?
I'm a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Sachi Sai Baba. He's famous for having this
Hair.
big bushy hair.
Okay.
I've got a picture of him. I
No,
can,
no,
well,
it's good. It's good. It's all good. It's all good.
and so, and so he, like as one example, he passed away in like 20, oh, to, 2012 or 2014 or something. And he was considered to be a full avatar or a full incarnation of the divine. And many people, me included, also consider Amma to be a full incarnation of the divine.
Who is
Now,
Amma? Advait. Who is Amma?
Amma is what everyone is just the supreme. Amma says that everyone is divine, are embodiments of divine love and the supreme consciousness.
So she's
And
first of all a woman, so to say, And
Yeah,
what age?
yes.
What age?
Amma is 71 now.
Okay, and she lives in India. And there is a huge ashram which is growing, and you are living there for a long time. Okay, okay, cool.
That's correct. Amma was born essentially, she was born within about 50 yards from where I'm at.
In the cow
Uh,
shack. A cow shack.
in a cow shed, right, right. I think you know the story. And so this is Amma's birthplace, is essentially right where the ashram is. And the ashram is growing. And to give her life story very short, very briefly, she was born to a pretty poor fishing family, kind of a lower caste family. So she was kind of on the her family and her caste was kind of on the lower rungs of society. And her family was very poor. And Amma became kind of known to her neighbors from a young age because whenever Amma had a little bit of money, a little bit of extra money, she would always take it to go buy some food for the neighbors because there were neighbors who were even more poor than her family. And she would always, try to, when she had some money, give them some food or to help them. Like if they had a elderly grandmother or something who was like bedridden, Amma, this was when she was like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. She would come by and try to help out and take care of the elderly person. And so she just had a reputation amongst the small rural community here of just being especially kind and compassionate. And this community is right on the seashore. About 100 meters from where I'm sitting is the Arabian Sea.
It's
And
Kerala,
so
right? Kerala.
Kerala, exactly, in the far southwest of India. And so also from a very young age, Amma was very drawn toward spiritual life. And she was especially drawn toward Krishna. And she would carry around a little picture of Krishna and kind of just contemplate it and pray to Krishna and just look at the picture and kind of just become lost in love for Lord Krishna.
This here, let me interrupt you quickly. This reminds me of
Sure.
the story of Thich Nhat Hanh. He
Mhm.
was like a child. He was simply stunned by the beauty of or the calmness of a picture of the Buddha. And his idea, like innocently so, like a boy, because his father put him in a monastery or something like this when he was small. And he simply loved how peaceful Buddha is sitting there with a smile on his face. And this was in a way his, I will say it now, his idol. This was for him the end goal, to be as calm as the Buddha with a smile on the face. And this is in a way interesting how also Amma in a young age already had an idea or
Mhm. Yeah, she had a
picture of.
strong pull toward she had a strong devotional feelings toward Krishna. Uh, just like Thich Nhat Hanh's feelings toward the Buddha, just a very strong pull and affinity and a strong resonance with the ideals that were represented by the picture. And the ideals of like Krishna or Buddha, they of course represent a much higher elevated level of embodiment of consciousness. Now, of course, all there is just this mysterious this or whatever is happening. And 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 there's all kinds of infinite number of appearances happening within this. And one of those appearances is the appearance of devotion toward this this higher goal or higher realm or world of the enlightened beings, the truly enlightened masters. And so Thich Nhat Hanh and Amma were very drawn by by those uh, by those ideas
By those ideas, exactly.
of merging.
Just an idea. Yeah.
Well, I think in my sense, it's these things are also operating on a deeper level that I personally cannot comprehend or experience. I think there are much deeper levels of what is happening of this than I can experience. And that's I don't directly experience those deeper levels. I've never had any special spiritual experience. But what's arising here constantly is a feeling, a very clear feeling that there's much, much more going on than what, quote unquote, I am experiencing in the everyday world.
But just to interrupt, so just to make clear again, so this sense, this sense or the feeling that there is something deeper or more substantial or more sacred, and that it cannot be, seen or understand it, is already just simply what is.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
these so-called feelings of that there is something deeper, or even the so-called experience that there is something which is beyond this or higher than this, is already just what is, as far as feelings, thoughts, ideas, beliefs seem to suggest it is or isn't.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This feeling is just what's arising, it's what's happening. And this feeling is very resonant here. It it has a feeling of quote unquote truth to it.
Mm.
Now that's just simply what's arising. And what's arising here is that it feels very natural. This feeling now do I have any experience of these deeper realms? Not really. I've like I said, I've never had any genuine, deep, profound spiritual experience beyond what's happening right here and now, which is the ultimate spiritual experience.
Beautiful.
It's just this present moment, which is all there is. There's nothing but right here and now. There's nothing but this.
How do you know?
But
I
the
have no
beauty is,
idea. I
but
have
but
no idea how I know that.
the
And I
beauty
don't
is,
know that. I'm sorry?
well, the beauty is there isn't even a present moment called this, or there isn't even a this as a thing or a no thing, existing as something in time and space to be called this. So the whole, the idea or the belief or the suggesting that there is just this gives also rise that there is something which is substantial, which is this, but there isn't a this apart from the idea that there is or isn't. There isn't a thing called this.
For me, what's arising here is there's no inclination or desire to put a label like substantial or insubstantial or
Mhm.
real or unreal on this thing called this.
W-
There's
Yes.
and
Yeah,
mm,
beautiful. At the same time, this is not about, the lack of labels or not putting a label on something or not. This is not about coming to a position when there is no label putting, you know, putting a label on this as real or unreal or substantial or unsubstantial is already this. There's nothing more to it. But there isn't a thing which has something beside it, which is to this or not to this. So it's
you
not
said
about
which
coming.
is
It's not about coming to an end of any conclusion or assumptions. Assumptions and conclusions are just simply what is.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly the feeling that's here. You know, all there is just whatever is happening right here and now.
Yes.
And as I was mentioning, there's feelings about these quote unquote deeper levels of what's happening that I can't perceive.
Yeah, please give me an example, Advait, of these. Give me an example.
Like my feeling is what's arising here is a feeling that someone like Amma is operating on levels of awareness that that I that this form does not perceive. Like my feeling is that if she wants to, Amma can see what is happening with any of her children all around the world and tune into them as needed. You know, if Amma feels like one of her children needs some help in some regard on the other side of the world, that Amma can feel that need, and if she feels it's appropriate, take some kind of action from a distance. Now, that's a feeling that's arising here, and there's really no story about that feeling. That feeling is just the feeling, and you know maybe tomorrow something that will happen that will prove me wrong, and that's fine.
But
And
Advait,
uh-huh,
sorry to interrupt.
sure.
So when you say there's a feeling that Amma is capable of certain, let's say, activities or actions, right? So could it couldn't it just be that instead of it being a feeling that she's able, there's just the thought claiming that there's someone called Amma having a uh, certain gift, you know, instead of calling it a feeling, because there seems to be thoughts suggesting that there is someone like Amma who's able to do such a thing, where it's claimed to be a feeling. You understand what I mean? So when you
Mhm.
say it's a feeling here, isn't it just a thought that there is someone having a certain capability or not, instead of a feeling? Because how does it feel? You know, to feel that someone is able to do something, there needs to be a feeling that someone is able not to do it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, like for me, the feeling or the thought here is that it doesn't seem that this form, this character, has that ability.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
very normal.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
The unicity of everyone is performing differently, you know.
right, right.
One is thinking like this. So for me, it's very normal. Everything is possible.
Mhm.
Everything is possible. There are skills and abilities, and I don't
Oh yeah.
know how you call it. It's so ordinary for me. Everything is
I'm not
possible.
questioning. Yeah, yeah. I'm not questioning any capabilities,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
know, this is
Yes, I
not
understand.
suggesting that it's fake or whatever. But you know, when there's a claim that this is a feeling, I wonder if it's the correct way to, you know, to describe it, because it can well be a thought that there are certain types of capabilities instead of feeling. How does anything feel? How does it feel that someone has a capability or not, instead of thoughts claiming there to be a capability or not already, or labeling something to be a capability which someone is able to have or not?
For me, it feels exactly the same. Whether it's a thought or a feeling, it's simply what's arising here.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, it's
And
also like this. Here, it's
yeah,
also like this. It doesn't matter if
it,
it's a feeling, a thought. It's the same. Yeah.
it's just
Well,
what arising.
but many people seem to, you know,
Differ.
we talked about this also, you know, I would suggest there's no feeling of separation, you know. There's no one.
Well, I'm confused. You said no feeling of separation. Why do you say separation?
Well, I mean, so there are people claiming that they are feeling separate, right?
Some people feel that way, yes.
Or that
Or
they,
they claim they feel that way.
yes,
They
but
think that they feel that way.
yes, but
Right.
it's just a thought. It's the same with I am. There's no one who's feeling that he is here or not. To feel you are here, there needs to be a feeling of absence, which will never arise. There's no one feeling that he's not here. It's the same with a feeling of separation. There's just a thought stream claiming there to be a you amongst others, and others are separated, but there's no actual feeling of being apart from life. It's
That
just
is,
an innocent stream of thoughts claiming there to be a you as a being amongst others. But there is no feeling in that direction. There's no feeling of wholeness. So when I say here there is no feeling of separation, nor is there a feeling of wholeness. There's just innocently thoughts claiming there to be a you called Advait, Rosa, or Sander, being born into life amongst other so-called separated beings, but there's no actual feeling of separation. There's no feeling of being separated from this conversation.
Yeah, sweetheart, let me say something. The first time I heard about the concept of feeling separated was when I listened to the spiritual teacher who was, when I started with this therapy, what's wrong with your ideas, with your emotions? What's wrong with this? And this was the first time when I heard the reason why we human beings are so depressed, fucked up, unhappy, needy, the whole thing is only because we think we are a person. We think that in this body is a me because of the idea of being separate, and this is a fucking illusion. So this was the first time I heard about the idea of separation, so to say. Maybe earlier also with Thich Nhat Hanh, but he didn't put it like this. Thai also talks about the interconnectedness, but Thai was never saying there is no one, in a way, not in this radical way. And then I guess, oh yeah, of course, that's the reason why I feel so shitty, because I think that there is a me, and yeah, of course, this is the feeling that I'm separate. Yeah.
But it's the same with being, there's no one feeling that he's here.
Yeah, this is
Because
just putting
there's
yourself
no
always on top.
there's no actual sense of a feeling not being here as a comparison. So there may be a thought claiming that there is a you as a position, but there's nothing more to it. There's no, I mean, at the same time, if there's the claim to be feeling separate, which is already not separate, of course, it's already just simply what seems to
Yeah,
arise,
yeah,
mixing up
sweetheart, because
feelings, mixing up feelings, and mixing up communication, or claiming a feeling to be a thought or a thought to be a feeling, which is already this. But I would suggest there's no separation outside the idea or the belief or the thought that there is a separated you already, which already in itself is already not separated from something else.
Mhm. Yeah, the way I the way I the way it's experienced here is when there's looking inside at the thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc. What is seen is thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And what is not seen is a separate, abiding, autonomous, independent self or I.
Mm-hmm.
There's just this pattern, I think I spoke with Rosa about, these energy patterns of thoughts and emotions that are arising and falling, arising and falling.
Yes.
And although in my everyday life, as I go around and do things, and just do all the things I'm committed to do, there is no feeling of wholeness, or very little.
Mm-hmm.
What there is, if I was to put a label on the feeling, which I'm not really interested in doing,
Mm-hmm.
but if someone were to tell me to put a label, it could feel like separation.
Ah, okay.
So in a sense, the feeling here is feeling isolated and separated.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, whenever a feeling like that arises, at the same time, there arises a feeling of, that's okay. So what? Who cares?
Yeah.
It's just what arising,
Mm-hmm.
a feeling of separation. And
Yes.
that's pretty much 99.9% of my experience is a feeling of separation. And
Uh,
and at the same time, it's completely 100% okay. It's just what is.
Advait,
It's just what's
beautiful,
happening.
beautiful. Here, if someone is asking me, I would go and say, like you said, if I have to give it a name, which I'm also not interested in, I
Right.
wouldn't go that it's a separation. I wouldn't say
Mm.
there's this permanent underlying conscious or unconscious resistance to what is.
Mm.
It can be very
Yes.
subtle, very, very subtle, but there is
Yeah.
a fucking resistance. And this
That's
was, in a way, the fear of life. I call it, I was simply afraid of living. I was always booming out. And when, in a way, I don't know what happened. And it was very obvious that I am, in a way, resisting what is in order to keep myself safe, protected from what? And this was then seen, and there was just boom, no matter
But
what.
yeah.
as anything else, so to say, which there isn't anything else. Resistance or the lack of it is just arising freely, right? So the
That's the
suggesting,
experience here. Yes.
yeah. So the suggesting is there is no separated solid you apart from the sense or the feeling of resistance or the lack of that sense.
Yep.
Yeah. When I look for this separate self here, a separate, autonomous, independent I is not found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a constant or almost constant feeling of resistance to life that arises here.
Okay.
And along with that arising is also the arising of it's completely okay. It's just what's happening. And it's not good or bad. It's simply what's happening. So in this form, there's these energy patterns of resistance swirling around.
Mhm.
And also in this form, there's the energy pattern of dealing with this resistance, of soothing out, of calming the resistance, and then of dealing with it when the resistance gets really big. And then finding these energy patterns of joy and peacefulness when the patterns of resistance fade away. But what seems to be, this is what your videos seem to be encouraging here or triggering here. And I know sounds dualistic, but that's fine. It's not a
That's
problem.
fine.
Who
Advice.
Dualism is,
Advait? Come on, sweetheart. What a
yeah,
bullshit.
I don't see dualism as a problem.
Yeah.
No.
Just
And
another
so
label. Just another
when I
label.
watch your videos, there arises uh, feelings, the energy patterns of handling and soothing and letting go of the resistance. Those kind of energy patterns become feel like they become more pronounced, which is wonderful, because then this form is feeling better when there's less resistance. And all of it is completely, utterly okay.
And
There's
effortlessly.
nothing
I know.
wrong with any of this.
And yeah,
Beautiful
well,
advice.
Advait, I can go now and in a way trigger you and say, well, sweetheart, isn't it just another praxis to now see the resistance and say, well, it's okay. It's okay. It's my okay mantra. Everything is now
Right.
okay. Well, this is it,
Exactly.
this is
Which is
it.
okay in itself. I mean,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with, practices or the lack of practices. So if there is a
Yeah.
practice
Exactly. Exactly.
seemingly going on where certain things are suiting for the so-called
Exactly.
system or whatever you want to call
With,
it, the so-called character or the personal, it's just what is,
yeah,
This is not about saying, you know, mantras or activities or practices are dirty. No, nor should there be. It's also not about ending practice. Practices or the lack of practices is just simply what is, also innocently arising, as is the love for them, the not liking them, the being interested in them, or whatever
totally,
seems
totally.
to
The
arise.
the need when the body feels uncomfortable, or the mind, or this whole system, call it whatever you want, yeah, in resistance to what is, or whatever, confused. The need to comfort the body, to feel better. Is this already? No escape. What's wrong with this? I can go to
Nothing.
therapy, I can do mantras, I can do yoga, I can do everything.
Yeah,
Why not? What's the probe? What's the
yeah.
issue?
There's
What's the
nothing
big
wrong. There's
deal? Come
nothing wrong with
on.
anything. Yeah, which
Loving to live in
includes.
an ashram or giving a shit. Is this already? Here is really like, yeah.
Yeah, there's
What?
nothing wrong with anything, which also includes the idea that there is something wrong
Yeah.
with some things.
Yeah.
It's just what is. So
Yes, that's what it is.
maybe you want to continue because we
Wait,
interrupted you, Advait.
no,
Maybe
no,
you want
sweetheart, we're not interrupting. We are communicating. But wait.
but he was talking about Amma. So
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah, I know. But let me put it never goes as planned, by the way. This is a
It
beautiful
goes
proof for this.
perfectly. It
Yeah,
is utterly,
exactly.
completely perfect, and I'm loving it.
And not even, sweetheart, and not even. But yeah, to come back to this resistance and like seeing how beautiful actually the resistance is, like in a way, melting into this resistance, however you would do it, and then look, and then maybe also like enjoying how that there is a when the situation is very tense and it solves by itself, of course. This is in a way a great feeling and enjoying this game. Or here it's more like really like, I don't know, it feels really like being in love. It's more
Yes,
romantic.
yes.
It's more romantically put, but it's not like this. I don't mean it in a romantic way, falling in love. It's really like an
Divine love.
in loveness with what is, and it can be very, very painful. And more humor is coming up. I'm laughing a lot,
Yeah.
and no, it's just like playful, very childish, and stupid impulsive. I just wanted to add it to the lack of resistance, or yeah, not anymore being able to resist, or just to play with this or whatever it was. Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay, let's go back to Amma.
Well, I just want to say real quick, there's also a pretty strong energy pattern here that everything has its foundation in divine love. And divine love is the foundation of this. Divine love permeates this. And now I do not really experience that divine love. Maybe I get a little taste of it once in a while, a little tiny taste, but the feeling or the thought that is always arising is that divine love is permeates everything. Even though I don't experience it or feel it, that thought is here and it's arising constantly. And the feeling here is there's joy, when that thought arises. And then the resistance comes up and it takes over and blah, blah, blah. And
Well,
then
there isn't anything else,
the
right?
surrender. I'm sorry?
Well, this is
There
this
isn't
is
anything else in divine love, so
this
to
is the divine love.
Yeah.
The resistance is the divine love of already. No
Wh-
escape.
you know, which
Yes,
includes,
yes.
I don't experience, or I experience divine love is already divine love. There isn't anything else.
Yes, exactly. Whatever is happening is simply what's happening. And
Yeah, we can call this divine love or Brahman or a Shiva or
How is
whatever.
Amma calling it? How is Amma calling it?
Amma says that oftentimes before Amma gives a talk, she will say that Amma bows down to all of her children who are the embodiments of divine love and the supreme consciousness. So what Amma is saying, the feeling here, my feeling is what she's saying, is Amma saying what I am, which is divine love and supreme consciousness, is exactly what all of you are. And that feeling, it has a feeling of truth here, or a thought comes up. That's true. And also there's an energy pattern here of being aware of stories that I may carry around in my mind and of letting go of stories. And that's a big energy pattern that flows here. But if you want, we can share a little bit more about life at the ashram or a little bit about Amma or whatever you want to share.
Go ahead,
So,
Advait.
Tell us,
okay.
sweetheart.
Well, Amma's ashram, the life here is it's rather more loose than at most spiritual ashrams here in India. Most spiritual ashrams, they tend to have a bit more strict timetables and schedules and rules and regulations. And here at the ashram, I've been told by many Indians that Amma's ashram is quite loosely run and not really strict at all. It's strict in some ways. I mean, if you misbehave, you'll get a chance of getting kicked out of the ashram if you're, like drinking alcohol openly or, hurting other people or, doing things like that. Of course, there's those kind of clear boundaries. But in other ways, like, for example, I'm allowed to get enough sleep at night. I sleep 8 hours a night in order to feel well rested and have enough energy to do all the work I need to do. And in other ashrams, that would not be allowed. In other ashrams, it's very common, for example, everyone gets up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., and there's no exceptions. And like also here at Amma's ashram, there's many elderly people here. The people who've been with Amma for, 30 or 40 years have been following Amma, and now they're in their 70s or 80s, and they stay here at the ashram, and,
It's like family.
I'm sorry?
It's like family.
It's like family, yeah. And like I have to pay rent here at the ashram a certain amount. But there's other people here who are what's called renunciates or brahmacharis or brahmacharinis, and they live here for free. And if you're a renunciate, it's expected you work between 6 and 8 hours a day. Now, I'm not a renunciate. When I asked Amma to become a renunciate, she just smiled and said no. So, which means I have to pay rent. I have to pay for my room and board, which is not very much. And then I'm expected to work about 4 or 5 hours a day. So I don't have to work as much as some of the other renunciates. And the main kind of Amma's main recommendation to people here is to primarily do work, to do karma yoga. And you probably know that term karma yoga, Rosa?
Yeah,
A little
a
bit.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, karma yoga means that your main spiritual practice is being of service. And Amma says that for most people here, the main practice that's most effective for them is karma yoga, which means doing some kind of work. Like I spend a few hours a day cleaning flats, which I like because it's some good mild exercise, and I enjoy it. And the other karma yoga I do is fixing and repairing electronic items, because I used to be an electrical engineer. So they said, okay, Advait, you do that. You know how to do that kind of stuff. I said, okay, fine, whatever.
There's no bhakti.
Well, there is in the mornings and the evenings, I'll do some meditation, and I'll listen to some Amma songs, which is a kind of a bhakti yoga and physical yoga practice to keep myself strong and healthy. And the main form of bhakti here at the ashram is when Amma leads the evening devotional singing. And most people go to the hall and they watch Amma sing bhajans and sing along. And that's very much a bhakti practice. And then Amma will tell a few people, a small number of people, to focus on like scriptural studies and studies the various scriptures. But for most of us, Amma says, spend most of your time doing work, and then some time doing bhakti yoga and meditation and scriptural studies. Like I spend a little bit of time doing scriptural studies. I like listen to the Bhagavad Gita, and yeah.
Advait, she is saying this in order to what?
Now, my feeling is that Amma can look inside all of her children and know what's best for them.
Oh, for the best,
The
best of her children. Okay, okay.
Right. And it's like Amma has her own spiritual CAT scanner or MRI scanner. And she can look into me and know my past, know my karma from past lives. And these past lives aren't personal. There's no independent me that's having past lives. It's just energy patterns going from life to life.
Okay.
And so Amma will know for each one of her children what is best. And for most of us, what's best is to do karma yoga along with a little bit of meditation, some scriptural studies, and some bhakti yoga.
Okay. So I mean, as long as the children are feeling good with the mommy, that's it. There is this beautiful living together in the ashram, and this is perfection already. And I guess maybe some people tried it out there and maybe left the ashram because it wasn't.
A lot of people.
It's
Many
not
people.
it's not their cup of tea. It's just what's happening, and whether
Thousands,
there's
yeah, thousands and thousands of people have come to the ashram and stayed for a few weeks, a few months, a few years, and then they finally get fed up with it and said, "Oh, this is just not for me," and that's totally fine. They go off and get married, and do other things and do a regular job, or go see another spiritual teacher.
Like SaderLinchen, maybe quickly, how was it hearing this? Can you put it in a nutshell with Sadhguru? Are there similarities, or how is it there?
Well, I mean, I was never living at the ashram of Sadhguru. I was like a full-time volunteer for some time.
You also
And
haven't been to India, right?
no, and of course there are similarities. It's with all the so-called, devotee and guru relationship. It's based on the idea or the belief that there is someone with certain capabilities able to help me or to make me free. So that's I would say is the basic. There's a certain relationship between the guru and the devotee, and this can play freely. It can play in many different ways, and the need or the interest to find a guru, you know, may arise, and then there may be a thought or a belief, well, I found it, until it all just crushes, and something else may simply happen. So here
Now
there's
I found
no.
the truth, and now I want to have a family.
Well,
I
I
want to have
mean,
a good job.
anything can happen, right? But here there was never a looking up or looking down. I never met any avatar. Here it was very clear from the so-called get-go that there are no such beings as special beings amongst non-special beings. Well, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong, with the idea that there are certain avatars or gurus who are more profound or more enlightened or whatever you want to call it. But it just simply never played. So here there was.
SaderLinchen, what was the drive to do this with that guru?
Oh, there was, so here there was never seeking out of the necessity to change this, or the sense of lack.
Or to find
Here
the
there
truth or stuff like this?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Here there was always just out of curiosity and interest, like an exploration. But there was never a goal to anything, like to reach something or to get something, because it was very clear that there is nothing to reach. There's nowhere to go and there's nothing to get.
And
It
what did you
doesn't
explore there? What did you explore there? Like the breathing techniques or the
all
yoga, the
types of
body stuff?
physical activities, like
Physical.
playing I mean, yoga or meditation. Here it's nothing different than playing football or going to the toilet. It's just a physical activity, and the loving and the liking of such activities, or the lack of liking, is just
I
what seems
love
to
I
play.
love going to the toilet.
I mean, so so there seems to be seeking out of the need for this to be, the need for better, the need to change. But there can also be just exploration. What is this? Like
Curiosity. Wow,
curiosity.
so cool to move the body like this and this and this.
Well, I mean, so it seems, as far as it seems, that activities can have a certain effect on the physical form. That's
Yeah,
how it seems. As far as thoughts, beliefs, and ideas suggest it is. There's nothing more to it. So the idea that yoga or meditation or playing football or doing calisthenics or doing body work is helpful, it's just simply this. And the need and the preferences for all those types of activities arises freely. The the,
yeah,
the need to do yoga or the lack of that need arises and dissolves on its own. There's
yeah.
no separated you apart from it. So it's the same with the love for a guru. Loving a guru or not loving a guru or placed innocently, freely, and spontaneously. So there may arise the idea, well, I go to India, I found myself a guru, until it dissolves. This need and this preference to stay there or to go there, or to not know to stay or to go, is just simply what is, innocently so.
Should I stay or should I go?
But so, but there's a beauty in all of it, and the beauty is mostly here that there isn't a all of it.
Again, come
There
again.
isn't what then?
Well, I would say the beauty. So there is a beauty in all of it, and at the same time, there isn't a it which contains all.
Yeah. Beautiful.
There isn't a this which is it, or an it which is
Not
this.
two. Not two already.
So, and I would say not either one. It's not even one. There isn't a thing.
I did not
One.
mention one, sweetheart. I just said not two. Otherwise, I would say just the one. I'm not
Well,
saying there is the one. No, no.
and I have many friends, from India who are greatly involved in spiritual practice and devotional practice and bhakti and karma yoga. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And
Totally.
this plays as long as it seems to play. This is free to play however it seems to play. And whenever it stops, it stops. But it always stops and arises freely. It doesn't stop for you as a separated being, nor does it rise for you as a separated solid being outside the idea that it rises for you or not. It's just simply what is, including the idea it is not like you are saying, Sander. It's totally different. Yes, that's it too.
Now, my feeling here is that it's quite possible for people to be very devoted to a guru
Mhm.
and to be very committed to a quote unquote spiritual path, and also completely clear that there is no
Oh, yes.
separate, autonomous, abiding, independent I.
Yes,
And
totally.
that and that's I have a feeling that many people here at the ashram are in that place deeper than me, much deeper than me. Many, many people at the ashram, I think, abide in this feeling that there is no independent, autonomous I. And at the same time, arising in them is the feeling of great joy and bliss in having this guru-disciple relationship with
Yeah, but
Amma.
Yeah,
Advait, sweetheart,
yeah.
but while listening to what you said, this is like a state you are describing. People abiding in this oneness, or in this
Mm.
that there is no, and I would never say this is a state someone can reach. This is, or the thing people one feel comfortable with is just feeling like meditating. In a way, for me, meditation is escaping what is in a way trying to commit suicide, which is beautiful. I'm just
Okay.
trying to trigger a bit, okay?
Okay.
Because this is already death,
Yes.
and
I mean,
meditating.
devotion.
This is, yeah. So no matter what, for me, this now I'm meditating in order to calm the mind, to experience bliss or whatever. It's quite effort. It needs effort to do this. But
Yeah.
okay, it's just like what's coming up here, and yeah.
I would like to say something about devotion, right? So here there was like 25 years devotion towards dogs, where life was all about taking care of dogs, working for dogs, taking care of them, making sure they were fine. So, I mean, devotion is not always about a guru or something,
Or a person.
or a person. There can be devotion towards well-being. There can be devotion towards helping others, or devotion towards dogs, or raising children.
Naturally so. I
Mhm.
call it follow your highest excitement. You can also say devotion to this.
And yeah, it seems that devotion may have its effect.
Like everything.
I mean, there's nothing wrong, with devotion. there's just simply there's no you who is devoted to something else. You know, devotion is not about something else or someone else. Devotion, I would say there's just devotion, right? Or the lack
The
of
fe
devotion.
yeah, the feeling here is devotion or whatever feeling arises, emotion arises. There's a feeling here that there's no need to take it personally. That
Yes.
devotion that's arising here, there's a lot of devotion here for Amma and for Lord Krishna. But there's not a feeling to take it personally. There's what is seen as just something that's naturally and joyfully arising, and it's arising, and maybe one day it'll stop arising, and that's fine.
And
Yes.
what's under, yeah, go, sweetheart.
But so even, you know, even if it seems personal, that's it already. So even
Yes.
if there's a sense of personal devotion, it's already impersonal.
Yes.
Even
Let me
yeah.
also add what I love when Xander is saying, and there are simply things which are more, how are you putting this? Which simply would, how is it the word? Will simply happen more, so likely to happen.
More
Like
likely to happen. Yeah, yeah,
more
yeah.
likely to happen, like Advait mentioned, and maybe this devotion will stop at some so-called pointless point. And but there are simply things which are more likely to happen, you know, and in your example, like Advait leaving the ashram, you know, or staying there. And this is yeah, of course you never know. You never know.
You
But
never know, but so at least as far as it seems, some things seem less likely, right? So it's neither about leaving or not leaving. You know,
yeah,
leaving may happen and staying
yeah.
may happen. It's not about, you know, one or the other. This is just suggesting that the staying or the leaving happens freely, spontaneously and innocently.
So in a way, quite ordinary. Everything is it already, no matter how it plays out. And
Yes.
seeing the beauty in this, or a specialness in this, or claiming this is completely ordinary, and nothing special is what to say. It's just saying this.
Mhm.
We have to do a part two because I want to hear
It's
more about
it's
Amma Advait.
uh-huh. It's
Sure,
always
sure.
very interesting, Advait, to chat with you. Let's stop the recording, sweetheart, but stay there.